Okay, let me briefly show you the WinTrack software for the track design or track layout before we go into the track design and track layout of my model railroad. Once you have opened it up, an empty desktop appears, and here is a selection menu where you can select the supplier of your tracks and the track type. My model railroad is equipped with Märklin C-Track. The gauge is H0, which is in regards of the scale 1 to 87 to real nature. You have a selection of straight tracks, of curved tracks, or different turnouts, and other accessories which you may want to use in your track design. Let us start out with a straight track. I just double click on this and a track appears. Let's enlarge this so we can better follow what I'm doing here, and we move this down into this corner. Each track which you position has two ends, and this end with the red line is the end or the side or the next track which you add will be linked to. Let's now add a turnout to the left, so I double click on here, and a menu pops up and asks me, is this a manual or electrical turnout? It is an electrical one, so it has a decoder, it has a drive, and it has a lamp. So you say OK, and this will then later on show up in the part list. If we want to go straight forward, we'll have to put the red line in here, so we click on this and can now add new tracks. So let me go straight. I just double click a couple of times and now want to make a U-turn. Okay, I select curved tracks, and well, I have various tracks here to select, so I take this one. Okay, if you want to go the other direction, no problem. You make a right click on this track and you say turn it, and you see it just goes into the other direction. So you have this possibility also with turnouts, and this gives you a lot of freedom for your track planning. Okay, let's complete the turnout, the U-turn. Sorry. Now the U-turn is completed, and I want to show you one more additional nice feature. You want to connect from here to there. Now you can do it manually and try and error many times, but this WinTrack software offers you an automatic search for the best matching connections. And for this you hit this button which says automatically connect. So you activate this button, and then this is always the starting point with the red line. This is the end point. So you click on here, and now it asks you whether you want to allow an S-curve, that means a track going like this, or not. And I recommend to you just leave it at that point, at that default selection, and start the search. Okay, you have started the search, and it adds tracks from the starting point to the end point. Now you can see in this button here the accuracy. The accuracy in regards of the distance or the gap between the tracks, or the front or the beginning or the end, and the angle. Okay, let's start first out with the angle. The angle shows 0, so it's absolutely accurate. The distance or the gap which you have is 5.6 millimeters. So it's 5.6 millimeter from here to here, which is missing, or which is too much. So this is 0.6 millimeter per track, and actually the default is that you can allow distances up to 1, 2 or 3 millimeters between two tracks. So this is a very, very accurate connection, but you can continue searching, and then you get some other results, and you see once you always click on continue search, it will give you a couple of selections, just like this one, for example. Okay, if there is no more selection, it computes for a while, and then it says, okay, there is no more opportunity, no more alternative left over. It returns to the last proposal, and you can go back to the proposals which you had seen earlier when clicking through this menu. And I just say I want to have this one, and I say okay, accept this, and then it's finished. So this is just showing you a couple of these features. There are very, very interesting features in this WindTrack software, and it was a great help for me to design my track layout, which we now want to look at it, and so I select this one, and the first picture which is showing up is the table on which my model railroad is installed, and you see all the dimensions of my model railroad. Now imagine you are in a house with an elevator, and then this table would be ground floor. There is a train depot below this table, which is then basement level, and there are a couple of tracks going uphill on the mountain, coming down, which is then level 1. So let's look at these different levels, and the levels are in here, and you can see I think there's over 20 levels possible, and you can select when you design your tracks on which level you want to design your tracks, because with these choice of many levels you have to say which level is active, and that is, I can put it in here. So if, for example, I would like to change anything on level 4, I have to put this in active. We don't want to change anything, I just want to show you my track layout. So I first of all switch off the dimensions and switch off the table, and then the first level which I show you here is the train depot. So this is basement level, and here all my trains are parked, which are not just up and running on ground level or the mountain level. I have an intermediate level between ground level and basement level. That's 3 tracks which I have in here to park another longer 3 trains. You see a couple of dead ends here which are actually not dead. For example, here this is the end of ground level. Basically the trains come up to the basement level on this track here. So this at this moment they're up on the ground level, and the ground level connects here. So I just activate ground level in addition, and you see here ground level has connected. Now I switch off the train depot levels, and then you find here the layout of the ground level. this is my main train station. There are a couple of dead-end tracks which are for train depot purposes here as well. Here is another train station. Here are a couple of freight trains parked. So here on this layout I operate my trains in a computed way, which I'll explain to you later. The mountain track is a very simple one. It adds here, so I switch off the ground level, so this is the mountain level going uphill here, dividing in two tracks in parallel, merging again and going downhill to ground level here, or just the other way around. Yeah, this concludes the explanation of WinTrack, the track design software, and basically also shows you the dimensions of my model railroad. And now we will add a video so you can see how this all looks in nature. Okay, the video is the next one to come. So let's take a look on my model railroad. I've told you that my model railroad's table is tipped over L, character L, so this is the long side of the L, and if you look to the left, this is the short side of the L. On the long side of the L you find the main train station here, and starting from the main train station there is the mountain track going uphill on the right side, on the long side of the L, dividing into two tracks over here, and then both tracks do a left turn across a bridge, and then they are on the short side of the L, and it comes downhill over here and then joins the ground level again. The train depot is in the basement level below ground level. Don't be irritated on the many cables. I was afraid of electrical interferences, noise interferences, if I put all the cables neatly side by side in cable ducts. All trains which are not up and running during automated railroad operation are parked here, and some of them don't fit in here anymore, and so I have other tracks on ground level where I park trains. I used one level of a bookshelf or a storage shelf. You see here lots of stuff which are stored, and one level I made available to have 5 more tracks for parking trains, and they connect to ground level behind the bridge. You will remember from the WinTrack track layout design software that I have an intermediate level between ground level and basement level, and that is over here, and so 3 more trains are parked here. Other 3 trains you find here along the transition from the basement level to the ground level, which is up here. Other trains are parked along at the main train station, like you see here, like you can see here, and some more trains, 3 more trains are parked here. So you see I'm running out of train depot tracks because of my many trains. And what you also can observe that landscaping is not finished. Over here there's a little village already finalized, but you know, it is just like any other hobby. If a hobby comes to an end, it isn't anymore a hobby, it gets frustrating, so I still have lots of things to do. I'm not running out of work. Okay, so let's move to the next part for explaining my model railroad. Finally, let's take a look on the part list. I have installed 169 meters of tracks, which is equivalent to 544 feet. I have 101 turnouts. You may call them as well junctions or switches. There are 44 locomotives which I have, meaning 44 trains. 15 of these are passenger trains with illuminated coaches, and for this illumination I use separate decoders in the first coach of each passenger train. And of course the 44 locomotives have decoders as well. All my tracks are separated in 240 sections which give feedback signals in the S88 protocol to the PC software controlling the automatic operation. I have 37 signals, and in the train controller software I have configured 263 automatic train routes. So far for the part list, and now let's move on to the control architecture.